The headlines just changed everything. Again, President Donald J. Trump's surprise move to boost Social Security just sent shockwaves through Washington. Seniors are cheering, but inside the Federal Reserve, panic, rage, and possibly resignations, because while you were focused on rising prices and shrinking checks, Trump was focused on you. So he just pushed through a massive new benefit that could save retirees thousands. But instead of support from the Fed, Jerome Powell's doubling down, keeping interest rates sky high, threatening to wipe out the very boost Trump just delivered. And now calls are growing louder. Powell must go. This isn't just a policy debate anymore. This is a fight between Main Street and the Moneymen. Now, this is also a fight between those who live on Social Security checks and those who think $2.5 billion for a new carpet is normal. You see where I'm going with this here, guys, right? Now, if you happen to receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, let me know in the comments, guys. In the next few minutes, we're going to go ahead and break down exactly what President Trump just did to deliver real money back into the hands of seniors, why Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve may be actively working against it, and the bombshell scandal inside the Fed building that could end Jerome Powell's career before his term is up. But stick with me, guys. I have a lot to share with you. If you're collecting Social Security, or if you plan to collect Social Security, what happens next could change everything. By the way, number one, thank you so much for hitting the like button and for subscribing. And I want to thank you guys so much for all the prayers and the get well messages. I'm feeling a lot better. I still have a lot further to go, but just want to say thank you guys so much. Praise God. And I really appreciate you guys' support. So I want to go ahead and start with what President Trump just passed, because it is not just a COLA increase. It is a full-on economic shift that Jerome Powell's team did not see coming. So I want to go ahead and start off with the shockwave that just kicked all of this off. President Trump's Social Security surprise. It's not just another cost of living adjustment. This one just jumped again, and it's catching even the experts off guard. So the 2026 COLA, the annual Social Security raise that affects tens of millions of retirees, has officially increased again. And, as inflation ticks upward. So while inflation has been rough on working Americans, President Trump is turning that pressure into relief for seniors. COLA projections are now above 2.5%, and they're climbing. So this means bigger checks for seniors collecting SSI, SSDI, and retirement benefits. But this wasn't some automatic bump from Washington's bureaucracy. No, this actually came as a part of a strategic plan under Trump's leadership to make retirement livable again for Americans who built this country. But here is the twist, guys. The very same inflation that triggered the COLA boost, Jerome Powell is now using as an excuse to hold interest rates high, which could cancel out those gains with rising costs, tighter credit, and fewer home starts. So ask yourself this: is this a coordinated policy or a tug of war between Trump's America First agenda and Jerome Powell's globalist hold the line economics? And if that wasn't enough to show you whose side Trump is on, wait until you hear what else is hidden inside this big, beautiful bill. All right, now this wasn't just a spending bill. This was a rescue plan for retirees that Washington elites didn't want to talk about. Built right into it is a massive tax break for seniors. We're talking $6,000 tax deduction for individuals 65 or older, and the $12,000 for joint filers. Now, that is real money. For the average married couple, up to $1,600 a year in savings just from this one provision alone. And it gets even better. 88% of Social Security recipients over 65 will now pay zero on their on their benefits. Zero. So that's amazing, right? This is the kind of policy that puts food on the table, gas in the tank, and dignity back into retirement. Now, for those who kind of looked away from their TV or, check their text, went to the microwave to go grab something, 88% of Social Security recipients over 65 will now pay zero on their benefits. Zero. But again, Jerome Powell's refusal to lower rates threatens to inflate housing costs, increase loan payments, and eat into every dollar seniors got back. So while Trump is working to protect your savings, Powell's Fed could be wrecking the ball, essentially could be the wrecking ball behind the curtain. And so it gets even worse when you see what Powell's been doing with your money instead. So, all right, let's talk about what's keeping retirees and the economy underwater. Jerome Powell's refusal to cut interest rates, it's no longer just a debate inside of the Fed. It's now a direct threat to the financial future of millions of Americans. President Trump has made it crystal clear. With over $36 trillion in national debt and $9 trillion rolling over this year, we need interest rate cuts now. Lower rates would reduce borrowing costs for the government, for homeowners, and for small business owners that are just trying to stay afloat. They would also unlock the housing market where high mortgage rates are pushing families out of the dream of home ownership. But Powell, well, he's digging in his heels. Despite the signs that inflation is easing, and even Fed insiders are saying that the rate policy is exactly wrong, Jerome Powell refuses to budge. So what happens when a Fed chair defies a sitting president's growth agenda and strangles Main Street in the process? Well, what happens next is exactly why Jerome Powell may not last much longer in that chair. Because while seniors are counting every penny, Jerome Powell's been busy spending billions of yours. Now, I want to go ahead and pull back the curtain on the $2.5 billion scandal that has Washington whispering resignation here. That's right, guys. Jerome Powell approved a $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve headquarters. And what did that money buy us? Well, it didn't buy job programs, not relief for seniors, not medical access, housing credits, or student loan fixes. None of those things. It reportedly includes things like mealtime meeting rooms. Yeah, mealtime meeting rooms. Guys, rooms for eating and talking. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Trump is fighting for $1,600 back in your pocket, and 88% of seniors are now tax-free on their Social Security. But Powell's upgrading his office like he's building some kind of a luxury hotel. The public backlash is building, guys, and the Inspector General has now launched an official investigation. So ask yourself this. If you just got $100 from Trump's new deduction and Powell's Fed spent $2.5 billion on drapes, Venetian blinds, and dining rooms, who's really looking out for you? This is the question that's lighting up Congress right now, guys. And this is why Trump's allies are now openly saying it's time for Powell to go. Let me know if you agree. Now, Francis Lutero said it best. We save $65 a month. Chapter was a huge help. Guys, that's $700. That's $780 a year that didn't come from working more hours or slashing groceries. Just a quick phone call to a team that actually knows how to help. Chapter isn't some generic call center. This is why I teamed up with them. Their advice is personalized, they're patient, and they're focused on one thing: you. So give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone number is down below, 909-563-8279, or better yet, head over to their website at askchapter.org/Ron. I left a link for you guys in the pinned comment down below. You don't need to figure out Medicare alone. It's complicated. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But with that savings, guys, it's definitely helpful, isn't it? So give our friends a Chapter call right now and see what they can do for you. And if you do end up saving, leave me a comment so you can let me know how things worked for you. So here's a real question that's boiling underneath all of this, right? Is Jerome Powell just stubborn, or is he actively sabotaging President Trump's recovery plan? Now, let's be honest. Trump's blueprint for economic recovery is not complicated. It is bold, yes, but it's working. His plan centers around targeted tax relief, especially for seniors and the working class. Tariffs that actually bring in revenue instead of exporting jobs. And yes, interest rate cuts to make life livable again for everyday Americans. But Powell, he's stonewalling every piece of that vision. Despite inflation sitting near target levels, despite surpluses driven by tariffs, and despite warnings from inside the Fed itself, Jerome Powell refuses to align with the Trump administration. Now, this is not just disagreement, it's defiance. Even Bill Pulte, the man Trump put in charge of housing policy through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, says he's very confident that Powell will be forced to resign. Now, that's not just speculation. That is a signal. The clock is ticking, and Jerome Powell's time might be up. Now, let's take it even deeper, okay? Because this is not just about Jerome Powell and President Trump. It's about who gets left behind when the elites run the show. Now, if you're still watching this, guys, you're my kind of person. So get my free breaking newsletter link down below in the pinned comment. I want you to stay ahead. It's totally free. Hit the link so that you never miss out on anything. All right. Former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh, this is someone who's no stranger to how the system works, says that Jerome Powell's policy mix is exactly backwards. Wall Street is getting cheap money and loose financial conditions. Meanwhile, Main Street, it's still getting choked by high rates, tight lending and rising costs. First-time home buyers can't get in. Small businesses cannot expand. Retirees lose every time prices go up faster than their checks. So let's call it what it is. The Fed, under Jerome Powell, is defending the financial class while the rest of America struggles to keep the lights on. But Warsh did not stop here. He says the solution is clear. Cut the interest rates now, shrink the bloated balance sheet that still acts like we're in the 2020 pandemic. That's what Trump wants. That's what the people need. And yet, Jerome Powell continues to resist. So now let's talk about the part of the economy that hits the hardest and rarely makes headlines. It's housing. All right. While Jerome Powell insists that high interest rates are necessary to control inflation, his policy is doing the exact opposite when it comes to shelter costs. Think about it, guys. When interest rates are high, what do home builders do? They stop building. Why? Because borrowing is more expensive. Demand shrinks and the risk goes up. This is exactly what's happening across America right now. Developers are pulling back. Inventory is drying up. And when supply goes down, what happens? Prices go up. So while Jerome Powell claims to be fighting inflation, his policy is fueling one of the biggest inflation drivers of all, housing. And remember, housing is a major part of the CPI, the very number that's used to calculate Social Security COLA increases. So here's a really twisted cycle here. Jerome Powell keeps interest rates high in order to fight inflation. That ends up causing housing inflation, which ends up raising the COLA, which Jerome Powell then uses to justify keeping the interest rates high. You see, guys, this is a loop of like economic insanity, and seniors are stuck in the middle. Meanwhile, President Trump is doing something that Jerome Powell will not do. President Trump is attacking inflation at its root through smart trade policy, tax relief, and a strategy that actually prioritizes American families over the global banking elite. Now, let's talk about Trump's economic strategy, shall we? If we go back to June alone, the U.S. posted a budget surplus, yes, an actual surplus, thanks to over $27 billion in tariff revenue collected at the border. That's not theory. That's not projections. That is real money coming in, and what is it being used for? I'll tell you what. They're using this new tariff income to pay down debt, to reinforce Social Security, and deliver targeted benefits like the senior tax deduction and the COLA increase. Now, Trump is not waiting for the Fed. He's rewriting the playbook. And if his strategy is clearly working, why is Jerome Powell still resisting it? This is the question that conservative lawmakers are asking right now. That's really what has Trump's economic team fuming. And this is what's putting real pressure on Powell to either fall in line or step aside. So now, here's the thing. We're asking the question, which is now echoing across Capitol Hill. Is it finally time for Jerome Powell to go? And I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Because with President Trump building all sorts of momentum, with COLA rising, with seniors catching a break, the only thing standing in the way of full relief may be the man running the Fed. So let's stop dancing around this, right? Is it time for Jerome Powell to go? His term is supposed to run through May of 2026. But after everything we've just laid out, $2.5 billion in scandalous renovations while seniors struggle, refusal to lower interest rates even as inflation softens, blocking the effects of Trump's COLA relief and tax deductions, fueling housing inflation with a chokehold on the home building market. And let's not forget about ignoring a president who's clearly making the economy work for the people again. Let's not forget, President Trump doesn't just talk policy, he executes. And when he sees sabotage, he acts. This is why insiders are saying that the pressure campaign is real. People close to Trump, like Bill Pulte over at FHFA, they're saying it flat out. I'm very confident Powell will resign. And who might replace him? Well, names like Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett are being floated around. People who actually understand Main Street and are ready to cut interest rates, support growth, and stop playing games with our retirement. So the question is clear. At this point, the choice is clear. Do you stick with Jerome Powell and keep the Fed fighting President Trump's recovery strategy, or replace Jerome Powell with someone who actually gets it, someone who actually listens to the people? Now, I want to hear from you guys. This isn't just about headlines. This is about your future. Trump has delivered a COLA boost for 2026, $6,000 tax deduction for seniors, zero federal tax for 88% of Social Security recipients, a budget surplus from tax revenue, and he's only getting started. But Jerome Powell, he could undo it all if he stays the course, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys right now, Who do you trust with your financial future? Drop your response in the comments down below. Type 47 if you stand with Trump and his America First economic strategy, or type a Fed if you think Jerome Powell's Fed is right to stay the course. And while you're at it, guys, hit the like button. If you believe that it's time to put retirees first again, make sure you're subscribed so that you do not miss what's coming up next, because this battle between Trump and the Fed, it's only just now heating up. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys in the comments.